literally having to sit like this at the table. How is anyone supposed to eat like this? Welcome back to another true story animation, where today I'll be watching I Was Brought to This World with 3 Mums or 2. First of all, the picture for this video shows her literally with 3 mums. I'm so confused. Did they all raise her? Does she have a dad? I am clueless. Leave a like on the video if you're just as confused as I am. Let's try and hit 5,000 and maybe together we can figure out what's going on. Headsets on.
Hey, I'm Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle. I'm Yammy. Nice to meet you.
And I want to tell you about a mysterious baby I found on my doorstep. Okay, so I never wanted to get married and have babies. I mean, kids are a nightmare, right? You become a mom and your life's over.
Why is she so negative? Look at her. She's frowning. She's angry. Why? Who hurt you, girl?
No more partying and having fun. It's all diapers and bottles. All that changed one night. I'd been out clubbing, so I didn't get home until late. I tripped over something on my doorstep. It made a strange noise.
Did she fall over a baby? Is that what she's gonna say? Please don't tell me that's what she's gonna say.
And I thought someone had left a basket of kittens for me.
A basket of kittens? People leave those? If any of my friends are watching this right now, where's my basket of kittens?
It made a strange noise, and I thought someone had left a basket of kittens for me. But then I looked closer, and I realized someone had put a baby on my doorstep.
How could you fall over that? It's huge. It must be a basket with a baby inside, must be about this big.
I took it into my apartment and found a note tucked into the Moses basket. It said, "This is your baby. You got me pregnant and I can't afford to look after her, so she's your responsibility now."
First of all, if I was reading that letter, I would be so confused. I'd be like, did I? And then I'd be like, no, wait, I can't do that. So who is this baby? Who does it belong to?
Her name is Heather. Please, love her as much as I do. What? Clearly, there'd been a mistake. I'd bought my apartment recently, so the baby must have been meant for the guy who lived here before me. Well, I wasn't going to keep her. Obviously. I called the cops and they said they'd come with someone from CPS to take the baby. But while I waited for them to arrive, I was cuddling Heather and she was so cute. She had a tiny little button nose and adorable big blue eyes.
Please don't tell me she decides to keep the baby. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Keeping a baby? That's not yours? No, that's not okay.
Cuddling Heather and she was so cute. She had a tiny little button nose and adorable big blue eyes. She was beautiful. The cops showed up with a lady from CPS. I asked what they are going to do with Heather, and they said she'd probably go into foster care and then be adopted.
They didn't even bother looking for the father? Seriously? They came and straight away were like, oh no, we'll just adopt her out to a new family. What? How does that make any sense? They didn't even try to track down the mother? Okay.
But if no one wanted her, she'd probably spend her life in foster homes. I couldn't let that happen. She had a mom who loved her, even if she couldn't care for her. What if she changed her mind? She'd never get her daughter back. So I did something crazy. I asked if I could keep her. Of course, it wasn't easy. I had to have interviews and assessments to make sure I'd be a good parent. It was a lot of stress, but I had a good job with plenty of savings, and at last, Heather came home to live with me.
This is the girl who didn't want children, and now she's adopting a child. Okay. I mean, good on you. Good on you. A very nice thing she's doing.
Once Heather was mine, I wondered whether I'd done the right thing. It's hard work looking after a baby, and when your baby cries all night, it's hard to do a good job the next day. I was head of marketing at a fashion label, so I was seriously regretting adopting Heather. But then I hired Charlene, my neighbor, as a live-in nanny. She saved my life. She moved in with us right away.
Why does she need to move in if she's your neighbor? There was literally a clip of her waving over the fence, like she lived next door. So why does she have to move in if she lives that close anyway?
She was the one who got up in the middle of the night to give Heather a bottle so I could sleep. Charlene was awesome. She looked after Heather while I was at work, took her to all the mommy and me classes, and made sure my baby got plenty of cuddles when I wasn't there.
This baby is living the best life. She literally has 2 mums. I can see why it's called this now.
I looked after Heather at the weekend, so Charlene could have a break. But most of the time, she would insist on hanging out with us. Things were great for a while, but when Heather started school, I told Charlene we didn't need her anymore. She started crying, and she didn't want to leave.
That's kind of sad, though. This woman has raised the child since she was a baby, and now she's being told she can't be a part of that anymore. That must be really hard to deal with. I sympathize for this woman.
She said we were like family. We agreed Charlene could stay on as my housekeeper, She cleaned while Heather was at school. Then she looked after her until I came home from work. Heather loved that Charlene was still living with us. She called her my second mommy.
So she's basically doing the same job, so you didn't need to fire her at all. Girl, why you do that?
But not long after Heather's 10th birthday, I lost my job when the company I was working for went bust. But nobody wanted to hire me. I was so high level and experienced, it was hard to find the same kind of job. When I applied for lower positions, everyone said I was overqualified. I had enough money saved up to pay my bills for a few months, but if I didn't find another job soon, we were going to be in trouble.
Uh-oh, are they gonna run out of money? I feel like they're about to run out of money.
It absolutely broke my heart, but I had to let Charlene go.
But she just started working for you again as a cleaner this time. Okay, I was happy for Charlene, and now she's just crying again.
She begged me not to sack her. She said she'd work for nothing as long as she could stay with us.
Oh, that is so sweet. Because I was thinking before, if she really didn't want to miss out on the kid's life, she could still hang out with them. It's just the fact that the mum didn't need to pay her to look after her anymore. So it made sense to why she wanted to fire her in the first place. And now she's willing to stick around for free.
But it made me really uncomfortable, to be honest. She threw herself on her knees, tugging at my clothes and screaming she couldn't leave us. I grabbed her bag, and as I was handing it to her, it fell on the floor. To my shock, pictures of my daughter fell out of her bag.
Okay, that's a little bit weird. The fact that she has a suitcase full of pictures of the kid. I'm not a fan of that. That's some stalker level stuff. I don't know any parent that takes that many pictures of their kid. Well, maybe if your mum's a photographer, but she's not. It's not even her kid. That's the weirdest part. It's the babysitter.
I quickly grabbed the pictures, and I couldn't believe it. She had literally taken pictures of my daughter every day. I was angry, and I wanted her out of my house quickly.
Also, why does she have physical copies of the photos? Is she not using a phone? She's seriously taking them on a camera and then getting them developed. That is next level.
So I called the cops, but then she was gone.
Wait, she called the cops? Surely there's a reasonable explanation for this that isn't strange. Surely.
I didn't tell Heather about the big scene with Charlene. I couldn't upset her. She loved her nanny so much. So when I told her she wasn't going to live with us anymore, she burst into tears. She asked if she could meet up with Charlene, but I said no. Heather yelled at me that I was a terrible mom, and Charlene was a better mom than I could ever be.
How does she expect the kid to react? She's never gonna see this person again who's literally raised her. Of course she's gonna be sad. I just feel like this situation got messy fast. There has to be an explanation for a suitcase of photographs. There has to be.
Then she stomped off to her room, slamming the door behind her. A couple months later, I was still looking for work, but no one wanted to hire me. So I decided to set up my own marketing agency. To save money, I worked from home, which meant I could spend more time with Heather. But Heather didn't want to hang out. She was still mad at me for sending Charlene away.
She just said she's working from home, so why is she doing up an abandoned building here? And then she makes a physical office. But to save money, she's working from home. I am confusion.
So whenever I asked her if she wanted to go to the movies or the mall, she said no. Until one day, Heather told me she'd join the choir at school, so she was going to be home late some nights because she needed to practice.
Why is my Pinocchio sense going off? I feel like Heather is lying. She might be going to see her other mom. This mom better be checking up on these lies. If my kid came back from school and said, Mom, I'm gonna have to stay really late at school today and tomorrow and the day after, I'd want physical proof that this club was happening. Don't tell me she just let this slide.
She said one of the other moms was going to bring her back. I was just happy Heather was doing something that got her out of her room.
Well, she wasn't lying there. One of the other mums is gonna bring her back. One of her other mums.
So I told her she could be in the choir as long as she kept her cell with her and always told me where she was.
Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. I'm in the co what? Ire. Oh, what?
Heather agreed, and for the first time in ages, she gave me a big hug. She had such a happy smile on her face. What Heather didn't know was I'd installed one of those apps on her phone that let you know where the cell was at all times.
Mum is clever. She knows exactly what is about to happen.
The first time she said she was at choir practice, her cell was at school the whole afternoon.
That's good. Maybe she was telling the truth.
But the next time she was supposed to be at choir, her cell left school and went downtown. I raced out of my apartment and got in a cab to find where my daughter had gone. She was in a diner with Charlene.
I knew it. I could tell she was lying. Also, look how tiny she is compared to the table and the chairs. Girl is literally having to sit like this at the table. How is anyone supposed to eat like this? Bless her small heart.
I stormed in and grabbed Heather. "Why are you here? When you're supposed to be at choir," I said. Charlene was really apologetic. She said it was her fault, but she missed Heather so much she had to see her. I told her to stay away from my daughter or I'll get her arrested. I told Heather she had to quit choir, but she cried. So I said she could still be in it, but had to come straight home afterwards.
So she was actually doing the choir, but afterwards, she would sneak and see her second mum. I feel so bad for this kid.
I couldn't trust her not to sneak off and see Charlene again. A couple weeks later, I decided to surprise Heather after school by picking her up and taking her for a manicure. But as I got closer to the school, I saw Charlene waiting by the gates.
What is she doing here again? She needs to back off.
I went up to her and asked what she was doing. She looked embarrassed and said she just happened to be in the neighborhood. I didn't believe her. She lived on the other side of town.
Yeah, why is she hanging outside of a school? That is a really lame excuse, because either way, it makes you look weird.
Then Heather came out of school. She saw me talking to Charlene. She went bright red. It was obvious they'd arranged to meet up. That was it. I got a restraining order out on Charlene. She was too obsessed with my daughter. I thought that would be the end of it, but my nightmare was just beginning. Heather got really depressed after I made Charlene leave us alone. She spent all her time locked in her room and only came out for meals.
It must be so hard for Heather. She's basically had a parent torn away from her with no explanation to why, and she's just been told she's not allowed to see her again. So I understand why she feels this way. Kinda sucks.
She wouldn't talk to me, even when I offered to take her shopping for new clothes. So when I called her for dinner one night and she didn't answer, I thought she was sulking in her room.
Oh no, did she run away? I have a feeling she's gone.
"That's enough, young lady. This rudeness ends now," I said as I went into her room, but it was empty. I looked all over our apartment, but I couldn't find her anywhere.
That must be terrifying. Walking into your child's room and they vanished. My heart would sink.
My daughter was missing. I called the cops. At first, they told me she was just being a teenager and not to worry. But when I told them about the restraining order I had against Charlene, they sent someone round straight away. I was so worried.
Why don't you just check the app again? Probably tell you where she is, right? That's how you found her the first time.
Anything could happen to my baby. What was Charlene's deal? Why was she so obsessed with my daughter? It wasn't normal for a nanny to act like this. The police told me to stay in my apartment while they looked for Heather, but I hated sitting around doing nothing. I had to do something. So I went on social media and shared pictures of Heather and Charlene, asking people to contact me if they had seen them. And then I got a PM from a woman who lived a couple 100 miles away.
That's seriously a picture of Heather crying for help at a window. Whoever sent you this needs to save her or call the cops.
She said she was sure she'd seen them staying in the same motel she was in. I forwarded my message to the cops and got straight into my car. I broke every speed limit going, but I didn't care. I had to save my daughter. When I got to the motel, there were cops everywhere. I raced over to them, but they wouldn't let me through.
Oh no, is this about to get dark? I hope not.
"What's wrong?" I yelled. "Let me get my daughter." That's when they told me Charlene had a gun.
Charlene has a gun, everyone. This just got serious. Why do I feel like Charlene is the original mum who left the baby in the first place? I don't know why. That might just be a wild guess, but I'm feeling that right now. I'm getting those vibes from her craziness. How protective she is. I don't know.
And she was threatening to hurt Heather if they didn't leave them alone. I screamed and tried to fight my way through the cops to talk to Charlene, but they were too strong. "Heather!" I cried out for my daughter, hoping she could hear me and know how much I loved her. Suddenly, there was a gunshot. My heart skipped a beat. Was my daughter dead?
Oh gosh, she didn't shoot her, did she? No. Oh, Heather, she was so young.
"Mom!" I heard Heather calling for me.
She's alive.
I ran towards the sound of her voice as she came running out of the motel room. This time, the police let me through, and we fell into each other's arms, sobbing. She said Charlene had fired a warning shot, but the police had tasered her before anyone could get hurt.
Oh, thank goodness. Everyone is safe. But Charlene is crazy. Why did she have a gun and then get into a hostage situation? This escalated really, really fast.
Not long after, they brought Charlene out in handcuffs. "Why?" I asked. "Because Heather's my daughter.
Now, does she mean adopted daughter because she was a nanny, or does she mean actual daughter, she gave birth to her? She was living a lie this entire time,
said Charlene. She told me when she saw me, she knew I'd be a good person to look after her baby. I had a job and a stable life, and while she was an alcohol addict, she knew that childcare will take the baby away from her, so she decided to raise her in the house next door. She also watched me and Heather from my house window 24/7.
How did she know that this plan would work out? The baby could have been given to social services at the very start, and then this would have never have happened. So why did she take that risk, if that's the thing she was trying to avoid in the first place?
Until she heard I was looking for a nanny, she realized this was her chance to stay close to her daughter. She then started laughing hysterically. It was really creepy. Why would you threaten to hurt your daughter then if you love her so much? I screamed. She was quiet for a moment before she said, "If I can't have her, no one else should."
Ugh, I hate it when people say that. That's what creepy villains say to their wives. If I can't have her, nobody can. Ugh, why?
That's when the police took her away. Heather and I were traumatized by what happened, but we're having therapy together, and it's really helping. Charlene got sent to a mental institute. She's still there, but if she ever gets out, there's no way I'm letting her anywhere near my daughter.
Wow. Just wow. That was a roller coaster ride. I didn't know what was happening, but it turns out she only had 2 moms and not 3. But it was kind of a believable story, I guess. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy the video and you want to watch another one, click here and let's go watch it together.